podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
The Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown.
Hey everyone, it's day 5 on the Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown. I'm TC Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
May 5th, 2019, as we count down 31 days of Godzilla, coming to the release of Legendary's Godzilla King of the Monsters on May 31st.
Yep.
And did we introduce ourselves yet?
Yes, we just did.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, we did. And as TC mentioned, we are up to the next film in our look at the Big G's march through history. This film was released in what?
Oh, great! Now you got that going through my head. Thanks for that. Marching through history. Big G presents history from the
Anyway,
French,
all right. Anyway,
producers. Anyway, go ahead.
The film that we're going to talk about today was released in Japan in 1964. The name of the film is Ghidorah The Three-Headed Monster. This was the film in the Toho series that introduced a long-running adversary of Godzilla, what would turn out to be a long-running adversary of Godzilla, King Ghidorah. And
this goofball with no arms.
Well, when you're a three-headed winged dragon, I guess you really don't need arms.
Okay.
And don't be species-centric.
Start that.
This film also has another monster in it, in Rodan, who had made his debut already in a film previously by himself, just him, or her. We're never really sure which is, if it's a male or a female. I've always assumed Rodan was a him, because they always make it seem like it's a him. Because we did think at the beginning, we find out at the beginning of the film that Rodan, who was thought to be dead, is found out to not have actually died at the end of the film that was his debut. It looked like he had died at the end of the film along with his mate because they killed themselves in the volcanic fumes and such of Mount Aso, and it was very sad. But as it turns out, Rodan is not dead. And Rodan and Godzilla start causing all kinds of mayhem and craziness until, as it turns out, King Ghidorah comes along. And then it's kind of an interesting thing because it's another one of these cases where they bring in, and also later on in the film, they bring in Mothra. And Mothra, along with the Cosmos, or the Shobijin, as they're also referred to. We talked about them before. The Shobijin convinced Mothra to try to go to Godzilla and Rodan and be like, hey, stop fighting because of this other big jerk we got to deal with now. And Godzilla, and it's a really interesting scene because Godzilla and Rodan are basically like, piss off when it comes to Mothra. They're like, just, hit the bricks, sister. And Mothra, being very persistent and also having an unending supply of silk that she spits at people or monsters, it's really kind of funny because at first she starts spitting her webbing. I don't know what you'd call it for caterpillars. It's not webbing. That's not right. I don't know.
Silk.
Silk. We'll go with silk. So she starts spitting this silk at Godzilla, which he finds irritating. And Rodan's kind of watching this, and you almost get the impression from the way that they do the motion, the suits and all that. Rodan's almost laughing at Godzilla until Mothra starts spraying Rodan with the silk too, and then it's like, oh wait, this isn't funny anymore. And Mothra is able to convince the two of them to battle King Ghidorah to keep Earth safe. Now, while all of this stuff is going on, we have the backstory with the humans that, let's be honest, nobody really cares about. We're all here to see the giant...
Well, it's very important to this movie.
It is actually important to this movie. Usually, we don't give a crap, because we're all here about the giant monsters. Let's all be honest with ourselves and not lie to each other anymore. The whole thing of the film is this princess from a made-up country who is showing up to Japan. You know, she's there for a visit. And there are people from her country that are the bad guys that want to assassinate her so that they can take over and all that stuff. So they wind up putting a bomb on her plane. And the thing is, before the bomb can go off, while the plane is flying and there's a bomb on it and it's all, you know, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? There's a meteor shower. And at the same time the meteor shower hits, the plane explodes and everybody's like, oh, the princess is dead. Oh gosh, you know, and all that. The thing is, as it turns out, the princess is not dead. Somehow she made it through all of this. But the princess has apparently banged her head or something because she's saying that she is from the planet Venus. And that, you know, she's telling them that she's not the princess anymore. She's speaking through the princess that she's a being from Venus. And that she's making all these prophecies, and they're not, like, all good prophecies. They're all, like, you know, dire destruction, disaster, giant monster kind of prophecies. And the thing is...
How convenient!
Yeah, and the thing is, said prophecies start actually happening. The first prophecy of hers is talking about Rodan coming back, and everybody's all like, you know Rodan's dead, right, lady? And then all of a sudden Rodan pops up like, no, I'm not! And, you know, starts wrecking things. And then she starts talking about, oh, Godzilla's coming and all this stuff like that. And then Godzilla pops up and is like, hey, what's up? And they, like I said, they start doing what monsters do, which is wreck stuff, which I'm still convinced half the time they don't mean to do. They just don't realize that stuff is there. And, you know, they start wrecking things. And as I mentioned, the princess... It turns out that the person who has been behind... They're actually... we know that there was an assassination attempt because the plane blew up and all that. As it turns out, the person behind all of the attempts on the princess's life is... Wait for it, drumroll. Her uncle, gasp. Yes, it's that old trope of the evil uncle that wants to take over the fortune and the kingdom and blah, blah.
It could have been worse. It could have been the butler.
Well, that would have been really stupid. Yes, her uncle is the one who's been behind all of the assassination plots, and he's a bastard and wants to, you know, his whole thing is, well, you know, we're still going to kill her. So he sends these assassins to go to Japan and to kill her and to also steal. She has this bracelet that apparently she can't take off or won't take off or whatever. And that bracelet is proof that she's the princess because... Makes as much sense as trying on a glass slipper.
But she's not wearing it when she appears to make the prophecies.
Yes, she is. Oh, no, oh, she's not. You're right. No, she isn't. You're right. I'm sorry. She's not. Yeah. You're right. I do apologize. So the uncle sends these assassins to go to Japan to kill the princess, to get the bracelet back. And they wind up being stopped because they're stopped by a police detective who it was his job to protect the princess once she made it to Japan,
which she never really officially did.
Well, since she's saying that she's some chick from Venus, apparently not. The thing is, the detective, whose name is Shindo, winds up getting a warning that someone's going to come and try and kill the princess again. He winds up getting this warning from the Cosmos, or the Shobijin, who were in Japan because they were on a TV show. What?
They were being interviewed.
I know, but I'm like, well, first, yeah, but I'm like, that's the one thing I'm like, why? But they had the whole thing where they didn't want to leave their island and all that stuff in the other movie, and now it's okay? Because now they have an agent or whatever? I'm like, I don't know. Yep. It's just, I guess. So the thing is, the Cosmos was supposed to be going back to their island, which is in this movie is called Infant Island. This island has been given like 700 different names. The thing is, the ship that they were going to go on, yeah, that's the ship that Godzilla sunk when he came up out of the water. So, oops. And they decided to stay because they heard all about this prophecy that was made by this princess/alien. Or whatever the hell she is, because nobody seems to be very sure anymore. The assassins try again to kill the princess, because they're probably not going to get paid till they offer. But the problem is that the time when they're trying to attack the princess, that's when Godzilla and Rodan show up and see each other, and instantly it's like, fight, and they're just wrecking the whole city, and everybody has to get out, or they're all going to die. So the princess winds up getting saved again. So Shindo, who is of the opinion that this A is the princess, B is not from Venus, and C has probably gone completely out of her mind, he brings her to a psychiatrist named Dr. Tsukamoto to try and cure her of this, what he says is a delusion that she's a being from Venus, which is pretty compassionate, I think. But the problem is that the doctor who runs all these tests on her says that he can't find anything wrong with her. There's nothing, she doesn't have any kind of a brain injury. She doesn't seem like she's insane. I mean, you consider the fact that somebody's being like, yeah, hi, I'm a prophet from Venus. I would think that would be enough testimony that somebody's not mentally well, but whatever. So the doctor decides that, yeah, she really is possessed by a Venusian. Okay! We'll just work with that then. Well, if we're talking about a world where there's giant monsters and twin fairies that speak in unison, why not? What the hell? So she winds up, now because the doctor, apparently somebody believes her, and that gives her the impetus to give another prophecy. And she tells this prophecy about Venus and what happened to the society on Venus, that Venus once had this, this society that was very active and very, peaceful and fruitful, and the people were all happy and everything was great. But the thing is, their society was destroyed by this giant monster, this dragon being called King Ghidorah. And that, oh, by the way, Ghidorah is here. And it's like, what? So, some professors, and at the same time this is going on, a professor and his other, scientific bros, go to where this meteor strike was, and they find this meteor, this big meteor. Problem with that. The meteor's not actually a meteor, it's actually an egg. And 2 guesses what's in it. And if your first guess is King Ghidorah, give yourself a cookie, because you're right. The egg hatches, Ghidorah emerges from the egg, and trust me, he's not a cute little baby Ghidorah. Oh no, he's a fully grown Ghidorah, and he proceeds to start wrecking stuff immediately. So the Japanese government is basically like, holy crap, we can't do anything about this, we need help. So they go to the cosmos, and they're basically like, look, can you talk to Mothra and, get Mothra to either help with Ghidorah or talk the other monsters into helping with Ghidorah? And so, like I mentioned before, Mothra's whole thing is that she speaks, quote, quote, to Godzilla and Rodan to get them to, to help out fighting Ghidorah, because their whole thing is, Mothra's whole thing apparently is that she's trying to explain to Godzilla and Rodan, you have to help, because if you don't, Ghidorah's going to destroy the whole world, and then where are you going to live? Like I mentioned previously, Godzilla and Rodan are both like, piss off. But eventually they decide that they're going to help. The thing is, we're hearing all this secondhand, because we hear the monsters growling and speaking, quote, quote, and the cosmos is translating to the humans. that Godzilla's whole thing is Godzilla's whole attitude about why should we help people because people are always trying to kill them and people hate them. And Rodan's like, yeah, screw them. Let them get killed. Needless to say, Mothra's whole thing is that the Earth belongs to everybody, human and monster alike, and they should all defend it against an invading force. Godzilla and Rodan are still basically like, yeah, go piss up a rope, sister. So, Mothra, you also have to understand, Mothra at this point is
larval stage at the beginning.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll go fight Ghidorah by myself. And, that doesn't work out real well. Because Mothra is effective, Ghidorah is a three-headed dragon that can shoot beams of concentrated gravity out of its mouth. So, the thing is, Godzilla and Rodan see Mothra, fighting what's going to obviously be an extremely one-sided battle that could possibly get her killed. And this winds up impressing them. I can't even imagine what else would impress a monster. I mean, maybe like a full Pokemon set or something. I don't know. And so they're like, well, we should probably help her out. And Rodan's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm not doing anything else. So they wind up fighting Ghidorah.
I sincerely doubt that was the conversation they had.
Well, I'm paraphrasing. And so there's this big smackdown finally involving Godzilla and Rodan and Mothra fighting against Ghidorah. So while this is all going on, Shindo and Dr. Tsukamoto they've got their hands full because the assassin and the assassin's goons have showed up at the doctor's clinic, and they're all like, we know they're still on their mission to kill the princess and all this stuff like that. And while they're trying to get out of the building, avoid the assassins, the fight with the monsters is coming closer and closer to the building. So everything is happening all at once because it's a Japanese kaiju movie, and that's what happens. So they manage to escape, Shindo the doctor and the princess / Venusian, and they manage to get out of the building and get away. The assassins try to follow them in their car, but one of the blasts from Ghidorah's gravity beams causes an avalanche and buries their car. Oh well, they're bad guys, screw them. The lead assassin, though, a guy named Malmus, he manages to get out of it and still pursue the princess while he leaves his buddies to all be dead in the car. He shoots at the princess from a ways away, like using the whole sniper routine. He doesn't kill her, but he does hurt her. The thing is, once she gets hurt, the pain actually forces her to be unpossessed by the Venusian, because apparently she really was possessed, and she's all back to herself again. So she's apparently now just a princess and not, there really was a Venusian possessing her. So there's that. So yay. Another blast from Ghidorah causes another avalanche, and he winds up getting buried before he can shoot at the princess again. Like we mentioned, he's a bad guy, no big loss. Now obviously we've got the heroes who have now been, they're not dealing with the assassins anymore because they're all dead. But the thing is, now it's like, okay, now we have to watch and see what happens with these, this big fight with the monsters, because if they don't all win, we're all screwed. So, because you've got these three monsters that are now working together, instead of everybody trying to do their own thing, they're actually doing things in a concentrated, let's work on the same page kind of a deal. Godzilla grabs Ghidorah by the tails, because he's got more than one. And Mothra, who is now piggybacking on top of Rodan, uses her silk spray and binds Ghidorah's wings with her silk. So then Godzilla grabs Ghidorah, throws him off a cliff, throws him into the water, and Ghidorah survives, but he's like, screw you guys, I'm going home. And winds up leaving Earth with his tails between his legs. So we see Mothra and the Cosmos. They head off back to Infant Island, and Godzilla is like, okay, I'm out, and Rodan's like, yeah, I'm out too. See ya. And they just, wind up heading off in their separate ways. And for once, the military doesn't try and shoot them on the way out the door, which is nice. Now the princess remembers all the time that she was possessed by the Venusian. So she remembers how kind Shindo was to her. But they obviously, it's like, they obviously care about each other, and Shindo's got like a bit of a crush on her and all this stuff like that. But she can't be with him because, she's the princess and he's just a cop. And so she winds up going to the airport to go back to her home to face her uncle again, I guess. And the movie ends. So this is probably the first, I would say this is the first Godzilla movie that has Godzilla as, would you call him a hero in this? I don't know if I'd call him a hero in this or not. What do you think?
Not quite.
No.
It's starting the evolution.
But
not quite there.
We're not there yet. We're getting there. It's the beginning of it, because they had
Mothra's the full-fledged hero here.
Well, Mothra's always been benevolent.
Right.
Mothra's always been like, oh, it's all about the planet and peace and love and stuff, and my babies, which is understandable. Mothra's not trying to be a jerk here, and no, please, any guys out there, don't yell at me. Mothra is a female monster. Her first reaction is always going to be to protect her babies.
Right.
And things like that. It's just, that's a female thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was hilarious. There's a point in the film, like I mentioned the whole thing, where you have this I don't know if I'd call it a peace conference with Godzilla and Rodan and Mothra, and Godzilla says something in Monster, and the Cosmos are like, "Oh, Godzilla, what terrible language!" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What did he say?" Wait, we don't get to find out what he said?
No, it was the 1960s. They're not going to tell us any of that stuff.
It's like R2-D2. R2 might have been swearing through the entire Star Wars, movies. We don't know. I like this. I like this for one specific reason. It's the introduction of Ghidorah, who I love. Ghidorah is the thing is about Ghidorah.
Now, is it Ghidorah or Ghidorah?
Ghidorah. It depends on who you are, I suppose. I think it's Ghidorah myself. Okay. The thing about this character that I like is the fact that he is truly frightening. A lot of the monsters, they're scary because of their height, but they're, other than that, they're not, I don't find them terribly frightening. I think Ghidorah is actually frightening. I think he's a frightening character because you can actually sense the malevolence in this character, I think. That he knows he's causing destruction. And not only does he know he's causing destruction, he enjoys it. And I think that makes him very different from other monsters that don't tend to view people as, they tend to almost view people as part of the scenery. They don't tend to think of them as people, as other beings. I just think that that's interesting, myself. Mm-hmm. Since Ghidorah is going to be part of Godzilla King of the Monsters, it's going to be a
big part.
Big part. And considering the fact that when we've seen him in trailers and things like that, it's definitely been a holy beeping beep. Would you look at the beeping size of that beeping thing? It's going to be really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think that's pretty much going to do it for this episode of our little G-Fest going on here this month.
Tomorrow we'll be back. With the next film in the series that we've elected to cover, The Invasion of Astro Monster. Actually, it's just Invasion of Astro Monster.
It's Invasion of Astro Monster, yep.
So that's what we're going to do on tomorrow's edition of the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown. Until then, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Let's keep on stomping.
Bye now.
You've been listening to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown from Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner at eCinemaOne.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.